In the heart of Limpopo, on a quiet plot just outside of Mokonyane, a story begins. Not just of walls and roofs, but of intention, heritage, and craftsmanship. This is not just the building of a house, it's the making of a home rooted in the soil and spirit of South Africa. Today, we're documenting the complete process of constructing a farmhouse cottage from the first shovel in the ground to the last flick of the light switch. It's a journey of structure and soul, a build where every timber, tile and truss tells a story. The foundation is the anchor, a mix of science and soil. We are welcomed by flat, grassy land, the perfect location for this rustic project. Like all homes, the house begins with a footprint, outlined onto the ground. Trenches are excavated using a TLB, the typical width being 600 mm with a depth of 700 mm. Once the sides and the bottom of the trenches are trimmed off, concrete is poured at thicknesses ranging from 250 to 300 mm, depending on the gradient of the ground. Brickwork for the foundation begins at this point. Double leaf, ladder reinforced walls are built to a height of 170 mm above the highest point of the natural ground level. Soil is then backfilled and compacted in layers, providing a strong, robust base. Adequate water is added, required to compact the ground to regulation standard. Once the soil is sprayed for pest control, the plumbing and electrical services running below the slab are laid out, followed by waterproofing via a thick plastic membrane. The concrete floor slab is carefully poured and leveled, with a builder's wire mesh embedded. This mesh strengthens the slab, but primarily reduces the cracks of the slab.
Must it all come, all three? How many cubic must come?
Traditional burnt clay bricks were selected for their thermal mass and durability, ideal for the local climate. The foundation of the home serves as a framework for the walls of the house. All the walls of the house correspond to the strip footings and foundation walls built. The loads carried by these walls are supported all the way at the base. Instead of constructing walls to full height in a single session, we follow a carefully phased, 3-stage process. This method ensures optimal strength and long-term stability. We begin by building the first section of the wall up to a specific height. This base layer sets the foundation for the entire wall, allowing us to maintain accurate alignment and ensure the wall is plumb. After the base has adequately dried and gained strength, we return to build the second section. This continuation reinforces the structure without placing excessive pressure on the lower portion while it's still curing. Once the second stage has fully dried, we construct the final section to reach the full wall height. This last step completes the wall without the risk of collapse or misalignment caused by excessive height while the mortar is still wet. Once the walls are fully constructed and cured, we begin the chasing process, cutting narrow channels into the walls to install essential services, this being electrical conduits and plumbing pipes.
So casually keep diving into concrete, so bittersweet, keep losing sleep while driving in the backseat.
The sewage pipes from the home lead to a septic tank. A septic tank is an underground, watertight container used for the treatment of household wastewater in areas without access to municipal sewage systems. Concrete beams tie the structure together. We typically use beams for the openings larger than 3.5 meters, or openings that carry large loads above them. Formwork is a temporary structure used to mold and support concrete until it gains enough strength to stand on its own. The process begins with careful planning and measurements based on the design of the element being cast, in this case, the beams. Panels made from timber are assembled and positioned on site. Once aligned and secured with props and supports, the inner surfaces are coated with a release agent to prevent the concrete from sticking. Plastering is the process of applying a smooth, protective finish to interior and exterior walls, giving them a clean, refined look while also adding durability. The first layer of plaster, called the scratch coat, is applied evenly using a steel trowel. This layer is scored to create a rough texture that helps the next layer grip. After the coat sets, a second layer known as the float coat is applied to build up the thickness and flatten the wall. Finally, a thin finishing coat is added and smoothed out to create a polished, level surface. Once cured, the wall is ready for painting or final finishes. Nothing defines a farmhouse quite like an exposed timber truss. Engineered from South African pine, these trusses are both structural and aesthetic. Each truss is designed and manufactured off-site using treated timber and galvanized steel plates. The process starts by securing the wall plates along the top of the walls. These provide a stable base for the trusses to rest on. The trusses are then carefully lifted and positioned one by one aligned according to the roof layout. Temporary bracing holds everything in place as the structure takes shape. Diagonals, ties and struts are installed to lock the system together, ensuring the roof can withstand wind loads and daily stresses. The exterior plaster gets a very similar treatment to the interior, the difference between the two being the final layer. The exterior is a more textured finish than the smooth interior, adding character to the facade. To properly adhere the plastering, it always begins with surface preparation. Walls are cleaned of dust and debris, and any rough spots or irregularities are chipped or brushed off. A budding agent or water is often applied to help the plaster adhere properly to the brickwork or concrete surface. Corrugated iron roofing, a nod to classic farmhouses. Beneath it, insulation keeps temperatures comfortable year-round, especially under Mokonyane sun. It's always important to install reflective foil insulation to reduce radiant heat, especially for metal roofs. Preparing and priming cement plaster walls is an important step to ensure a long-lasting and professional paint finish. With the wall now clean and even, a plaster primer is applied using a roller or brush. This specialized primer is designed to penetrate and seal the porous plaster surface, promoting strong adhesion and preventing future peeling or flaking. Service pipes that were previously embedded into the walls are now connected and extended into the ceiling space. At this stage, the electrical wiring for the home is pulled through the conduit, carefully routed and secured, ready to be concealed when the ceiling boards are installed. After a long wait, the aluminum windows and frames are fitted into their openings. With the frame securely in place, the surrounding cavities are prepared to be finished off with window sills and the final layer of plasterwork, completing the clean, refined look of each opening. Ceiling boards are cut and fit through the hole, ready for runner plaster, cornice, and paint. Wiring is pulled through the ceiling at the correct locations for corresponding lights and appliances. The driveway of the home, along with a 1-meter apron around the house, is paved using cement pavers. We first compact and stabilize the ground, followed by a layer of river sand, ready for the pavers to be layered across the surface. So this is where the fun begins, the stage at which we choose the finishes that bring the home to life. Before diving into the selections, I always ask the client a few important questions. What is the vision for your space? Do you want something dark and moody, bright and airy, modern or rustic? These conversations are very important because the end result should be a home that they want to live in. In this case, the brief was very clear. A bright and airy home with a cozy rustic feel. I always start the design process with a foundational element. In this case, it was the floor tile. The homeowner wanted a matte stone-like tile, and then we found this one over here. So this is a gray tile that has these beautiful gray and brown streaks running through it. This became the anchor for every decision that followed. Next, we moved on to the wall color. To stay in line with the earthy natural palette, we needed something warm. So we went for this color. It is called toasty gray. As you can see, it adds contrast to the gray, but it still blends quite well because it's taking hues from some of the colors that we are finding inside of the tile. The next stage after choosing the floor tile and the wall tile is the cabinetry. Now the primary cabinetry is the kitchen and scullery, followed by the master bathroom. So we went for a color called Congo. So this color blends well with everything over here. They still all speak the same language, but it still separates itself from the wall color. We don't want them to be too close where they get muddled up, but we still want them to blend, and you want everything to speak to each other over here. We went for a two-tone kitchen, and so we went for a complementary pattern. This was called Coimbra. We wanted something that is natural and textured so that we still get the natural look. We don't want it to be too flat. We wanted to add some texture into the design of the home. To add a little bit of extra pop to the kitchen, the extractor fan, the hood that we're going to put the extractor fan in, we wanted to separate it and be different from the rest of the kitchen. So we went for this anchor point natural touch. So this is going to be the highlight that's only going to be found on the extractor fan. And then you see the house is now talking a story. You can see how all of these elements are blending, but they are contrasting nicely with each other as well. The last decision that had to be made was the doors and the exposed trusses. So we wanted to add a lot of vibrancy to the spaces, and so we went for a natural finish in a stain called light oak. So this is a light oak finish, and because the trusses are timber, we tested it on the timber, and then this is what it came out as, and we thought this was going to be a well-packaged home. It was a good canvas where now it was easy to make the decision of having black handles, black lighting, black fittings, so that it pops off. And so when we put that right here, you can see that it stands out from the background, and this makes sure that the whole house does not fall flat. So stay tuned to see how everything came together as we come closer to the final reveal. The first application of the finishes we've chosen is the first coat of paint, both on the exterior and the interior of the home. The floor tiles and ceiling cornices of the home are installed concurrently. The cornice work for this home was quite extensive due to the large amount of exposed trusses in the home. We had a late design addition to the living room of the home. This is in the form of a built-in TV wall. This process included building a strong framework, closing it off with rhino board, and plastering it with rhino plaster for a smooth finish. The result is housing for a fireplace, TV, and shelving. The installation of wooden doors into wooden frames is a precise and careful process that brings the structure one step closer to completion. The wooden door is prepared and sized to fit within the door frames. Hinges are marked, cut, and fastened to the door edge and then to the frame, allowing for a smooth and even swing. Once properly fitted, the lock set and handles are also installed, and the final adjustments are made. The installation of the kitchen cabinetry and built-in cupboards begins with the precise measurements and layout markings to ensure every element fits perfectly. Cabinet carcasses are assembled and anchored to the structure, forming the foundation for the drawers, shelves, and doors. Once the cabinetry is in, stone countertops are carefully positioned and bonded using high-strength adhesives, completing the clean and functional finish. All design selections and interior fittings, including the kitchen, cupboards, and detailed carpentry, are expertly curated and installed by Fauve Atelier, our dedicated interior design studio. With a refined eye for timeless elegance and modern functionality, Fauve Atelier transforms spaces into beautiful, cohesive interiors tailored to each client's lifestyle and vision. The home enters its final stretch with wall tiles being installed. The balustrades of the home are installed around the patio areas, followed by installations of lighting and appliances, finishing off this dream farmhouse cottage. And now it stands, a home rooted in the land, shaped by craft and filled with story. A simple one-bedroom cottage, but filled with purpose. From the single garage to the exposed trusses, the pantry to the patio, it's not just a house, it's a life ready to be lived.
Cause it's scary being seen in daylight. Like if they're looking close, then maybe they might See right through me, see right through me. And I don't know why I just can't have it. What everybody seem to take for granted.
I hope you enjoyed the full process of how this home came together. If you're looking for a builder in Limpopo or Gauteng, please contact Mokonyane Property Group. I'll put the details in the description. Or if you're looking for any sort of interior design, contact Fauve Atelier. I'll also put those details in the description.
Might as well be on the move. Never really get used to the things that I
To see the full tour of this rustic cottage, click here.